Why do higher level items sometimes have way worse modifiers than low level items? That doesn't make sense, or does it? And what exactly do item tiers do? As a new Path of Exile 2 player, I had the same questions. I got very confused trying to figure out scepter upgrades for my Infernalist, so I did a deep dive to figure it out. Here's what I found. Hopefully this is useful for you as well. To make things easier, I've broken down this video in chapters, so you can jump directly to the parts that you actually need. Before we dive into the depths of item modifiers, we need to have a common understanding of what modifiers are. In short, modifiers are properties that can be found on items giving it functionality, by either adding more offensive, defensive or utility. Modifiers are important, because they can significantly increase your character's damage output or survivability. Modifiers, sometimes also called affixes, come in two types: prefixes and suffixes. Prefixes usually focus more on the offensive, enhancing stats like increased attack, life, mana, spirit, or movement speed. On the other hand, suffixes typically focus more on defensive or utility stats, enhancing resistances, life and mana regeneration, or attributes that are required to equip weapons or gems like strength, intelligence, and dexterity. Now that we understand the different types of modifiers, let's have a look at how many modifiers we can have on an item. That is actually dependent on the rarity of the item. Normal or white items only have the base stats and don't come with any modifiers. Magic or blue items can have two modifiers, one prefix and one suffix. Yellow or rare items can have 6 modifiers, 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. Lastly, unique items come with a specific set of predefined modifiers. At this point in time, the game itself doesn't provide any data or information on what kind of modifiers are available on items. However, there are several external resources available that can help with this. Please note that I'm not affiliated in any way with the external resources that I mentioned in this video, and I cannot guarantee that the information they provide is correct. An example of such an external resource is Craft of Exile. Craft of Exile can be used to basically look at an item and see what modifiers are available on that item. This can be a great help to decide what item would work the best for your build. To bring this to life, we will look at an example of a two-handed mace for a warrior. We will assume this two-handed mace is a rare item. We will therefore identify 3 prefixes and 3 suffixes. Let's first look at the prefixes. For a two-handed mace, there are 8 different prefixes. These prefixes get randomly assigned to your two-handed mace. Because we are looking for a warrior, we will select 3 specific prefixes that will work best with our build. The first prefix is the percentage increased physical damage. The second prefix is a number to a number increased physical damage. And the third one is a percentage increased physical damage plus a number to accuracy rating. These are the 3 prefixes we will target to try to get on our rare item. Now let's have a look at the suffixes. From the suffixes we select the following. The first one is plus a number to level of all melee skills. The second one is increased attack speed. And the third one is gain a number of life per enemy killed. These are just 6 examples of prefixes and suffixes you can look for on a two-handed mace. This can be the blueprint of the two-handed mace that you're looking for that will work best with your build. These modifiers can be noted down in order of priority, so you know what to look for when an item drops or when you go to a vendor. I will provide links to the external resources that I typically use for this in the description down below. So with the basics out of the way, let's look at our exam question again. Why do higher level items not always have better modifiers? And actually, why is it more challenging to get better modifiers on a high item level item? When it comes to modifiers, Grinding Gear Games implemented a comprehensive tier system. A tier gives a value range for a specific modifier, and more tiers become available when a character is leveled up, explores higher level areas, and finds higher level items. This still doesn't explain or answer the exam question. It all boils down to having to deal with 4 RNG moments. RNG stands for Random Number Generator. To explain this, I'm using the data from our previous example, the two-handed mace. And I'm specifically looking at the percentage increased physical damage prefix. So step 1 is buying or finding an item. what is the actual item level of that specific item. The item level defines how many tiers, or value ranges if you will, are available for that item. This means that a higher item level item will have more tiers to randomly choose from. In this example, we assume the item level of our two-handed mace is 60. The second step is the prefix or the suffix that is rolled on this specific item. As explained earlier, there's a limit of the number of prefixes and suffixes based on the rarity of the item. In this example, for our two-handed mace, we assume that we rolled the percentage increased physical damage prefix. The third step is, which tier does the modifier roll? A high item level item doesn't automatically get a favorable tier assigned to it. In our example, the two-handed mace with a high item level can easily roll tier 7, which would result in 50 to 64% increased physical damage. While the tier system goes up to tier 3 for an item with item level 60, which would mean an increase of physical damage of 135 to 154%. The fourth and final step is rolling the actual value from the range. Assuming we roll tier 7, the value will be between 50 and 64%. For this example, we assume the worst roll possible, resulting in a 50% increased physical damage. As you can see, the randomness of this is significant. With this example showing a variance of over 100% between the worst roll and the best roll. This also explains why a lower item level item can have a better modifier than a higher item level item. To bring this to life, let's compare our current two-handed mace example with the new two-handed mace drop. The new two-handed mace has an item level of 35 and rolls the max value in tier 5. This would result in 109% increased physical damage. That's a 59% difference with our worst roll on our previous example. So now that we understand the process, how can we see which item has which modifier and which tier? On PC, when you hover with your mouse over an item and hit the Alt key, it will show the modifier range. This is all the info the game currently provides on modifiers. Craft of Exile or similar resources can be used to look at an item to better understand what the tier values look like. We just spent all this time on modifiers, including Modifier Tiers. But what about item tiers? These are items that show a tier range of 1 to 5 between round brackets before they are identified. Even though these tiers are closely related, they are not the same. So let's first have a quick look at item tiers. As mentioned, item tiers range in a value of 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst and 5 being the absolute best. Please note that only unidentified items show a tier. Once you identify the item, the tier number disappears. And as far as I'm aware, it cannot be retrieved anymore. However, the impact is still there and applies to all the prefixes and suffixes of this specific item. If we apply this to the third step of our two-handed mace example, this will look as follows. For this example, we will actually assume that our two-handed mace has an item level of 82. This opens up all 8 tiers that are available for the percentage increased physical damage prefix. So if we consider this is not a tiered item, the roll on this item can result in the modifier to be anything across the 8 tiers, ranging from 40% to 179% increased physical damage. This is exactly as presented in step 3 of the previous example. So let's look at the same example, but make it a tier 4 two-handed mace. This results in the number of available tier levels to be significantly reduced, making the possibility to hit a high level tier on the item significantly higher. Please note that the data about the item tier jumps has not been published by Grinding Gear Games. The example I just gave is for informational purposes. However, assuming the reduction of 1 modifier tier level per 1 item tier level still drastically improves the RNG of each of the modifier tiers. Hopefully this explains the modifier and tier systems, and why high item level items sometimes have worse modifiers than low item level items. If you think I missed anything, or if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.